let's start the process of putting some eyes in my little bear sculpture here. Without those eyes, we really are missing a key anatomical detail that makes our connection to this model so much stronger. Let's get those eyeballs in pretty fast, because as one might imagine, it's going to influence a pretty big area on the face. And we need to lay that foundation early on so that we're not having to go back in and make huge sculpting changes and edits later on in the process. So I want to jump over into object mode real fast. And as one might imagine, we're just going to add spheres. Eyes are gigantic spheres. Let's do it real fast. Of course, we can go into the Add pull-down menu. That works just as well. Here's a great little keyboard shortcut. If you were just to do Shift-A on your keyboard, it's going to bring open the Add menu right underneath your cursor, and we're just going to add a UV sphere. Okay, our UV sphere is inside of our character and at the origin of our scene. It's way down here. So let's go and start getting it where we want it to go. I'm going to move it up, move it forward a little bit, and now we can start sculpting our eye. And, well, not sculpting, placing our eye. For brevity's sake, to make it go faster, I want to go into the Object Transform tool here, and let's just do this real fast. Yeah, let's look at our scene from the front. Go to my box selection, scale it up. The S key for scale, G for grab. Let's look at it from the side. 3 on the number pad. Yeah, I got lucky on that one. Still a little bit too big. Let's look at it from the side once again. From the front. Yeah, I'm going to grab it, place it here, go back to my side. I like working with these orthographic views. They're pretty cool. They make my life a whole lot easier. Now, what I'm looking at here isn't so much the placement of the eyeball in relationship to what's there. I'm looking for size. I'm looking for size. I'm going to make my eyeballs maybe a little bit bigger than what they would actually be on the actual sculpture itself, just to make sure my audience can see it. When we're done with this, we're going to have a custom texture for our eye. And I want to make sure that my audience can separate that important anatomical feature from the rest of the model, because I know that's what they're going to be looking for. Often in computer graphics, we have to accentuate and caricature our features just a little bit to make sure they're readable from a distance. And I'm liking that. That's a good place to begin. The other suggestion that I like to make, or that I would encourage you to follow, is rotating the eye ever so slightly. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you notice the polygonal flow and the geometric structure of our eye, let's go into edit mode. Yeah, you can see all the edge loops are terminating at the pole of the sphere, which is at the top and at the bottom. Well, check it out. If we go back into object mode, got my eyeball selected, I'm going to fire off the rotation tool. I'm going to rotate it along 90 degrees or so, along the x-axis. There we go. Now if you look at the geometric structure, it's been rotated. And this is starting to look kind of like a pupil of an eye. And in actuality, when we go in and sculpt the actual pupil and the iris of the eye, this is how we'd like to have it positioned, because we have a geometric structure on the eye, on the sphere that creates the eye, already in place that will allow us to very quickly flesh all this out. And for us as the sculptors, it also gives us a good visual indication as to where the eyes are facing in the scene itself. And this is great because now, if the termination point, if this little dot right here represents the pupil of the eye where the bear is looking, I can make some really great decisions as to where I want my nose, where the orbit of the eye needs to begin and end. I can already see that my eye the orbit of the eye on the skull swoops and sweeps far too back. See how it swoops all the way back here? I need to bring this forward a little bit so that part of the anatomy ends kind of right in here, because the eyeball is not going to be that exposed on the back of the eyeball itself. Same with on the inside. I know I need to go in and start changing the orbit of the eye to have a little bit more eyeball showing on the inside, on the bridge of the nose side of the model itself. Okay. The last thing we need is 2 of them. We need 2 eyes. And this is where our object modifiers really come in. We always want to sculpt with 2 eyes. We want to use the symmetry features inside of our sculpting app as much as we can to help us in this modeling process. The more information we have at our fingertips, the more accurate and believable our models are going to be. So let's do it real fast. Let's use some object modifiers. I'm in edit mode right now. And let's just go in and find the mirror modifier from this list. There it is. And let's see, I'm going to use the mirror object B, sculpt bare smooth, and voila, now I have two. Okay, let's also rename this object from sphere to eyes, and we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so these object modifiers are fantastic because now any change that I make to one will automatically be applied to the other. Oops, let's go back into edit mode on our eyes. Check it out, because now if I grab it, you see how both sides move? That's not because of the symmetry. And if you actually look closely, my symmetry engine's been turned off in this moment, right? That's because of the object modifier. The mirror object modifier is doing all the heavy lifting for us. Now if we go back into sculpt mode, let's go back onto my smooth sculpt layer. My symmetry has been returned, and I'm free to go in and start making some pretty big sweeping changes to how I want my eye to work, okay? In every sense, I'm going to kind of sculpt around the eye now. Let's see, I'm going to bring this forward. My brush is too small. Yeah, there we go. I'm being real mindful of curves in here. We like curved shapes. There are no straight lines in nature. So if you find yourself getting too planar on some of these shapes, just remind yourself of that. There are no straight lines in nature. Yeah, I'm bringing this down. And I'm just going to create a nice little eye socket. I'm also going to bring out the bottom. And then once I have the bottom out, I can pull it up. Yeah, there we go. That's starting to look pretty cool. You can already start to see the impact of having those pupils in here. Because now I can create a really nice eye shape. A little too far, so I'm going to smooth it out. Yeah, I'm liking that. Let's look at it from a distance. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm pretty pleased with this. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. Go back into Sculpt Draw, and I'm just going to add some volume here underneath the eye and above the eye to give us a little bit more of a brow. I'm fighting the geometry right now, and this is kind of the limit of the remeshed topology that we have. If we go in and look at the geometry wireframe, you can see that all of my work is destroying the underlying structure, and that's okay. The Dyntopo tools are going to be activated in the next stage, and we're going to start to be able to layer in some additional detail that will hopefully give us the results that we're looking at. So get those eyeballs in as fast as you can, and then sculpt your geometry around your eyeballs. It's a little bit of a process, but once they're in there, I think you're going to find that the result is going to be pretty good. Make the eyelid around the eye. Don't do it the other way. It's going to be impossible. We don't want to deform the eye. I have some work in here I still need to do. It's a work in progress, but we don't want to deform the eye. We want the eye to stay where it is, and we deform the model around the eye. That's the only way to really consistently keep the shape as you continue to do all of the edits and sculpt inside of your animal.